resit fees as they exist have been used by the university as a deterrent from students failing those exams. However, the cost of going to education, of affording a higher education at the moment, is quite high. So if more of the public outside of UCD were aware of the high fees, it may actually act as a deterrent for them to choose UCD to study. So therefore, I feel the best way to lower these and have the university listen to students and how these crippling fees are affecting them is to adopt a policy of reaching outside of UCD to make sure that the UCD feeder schools are aware of the high costs, and then perhaps the university will sit down and listen to us and consider renegotiating those high fees.
The situation with resit fees as it stands has been mentioned often over the place that they are there as a deterrent. I believe that in this day and age, as things stand, that is not an attitude which we can afford to put up with. This is an area where I'd really seek to take the university to task. However, I'm not talking in competitive terms here. I believe that the best way to make progress on an issue such as this is to take a clear set of negotiable points. At the moment, UCD students pay the highest resit fees in the country. Now then, there are many reasons behind this, such as the deterrents that they bandy around, such as the fact that different schools require different levels of payment for resits, and these have to be counterbalanced against each other. But I believe that there is plenty of room for negotiation. This is what it comes down to. The key here is negotiation. It's taking a clear set of negotiable points and proposals on the consensus of the student's body for the good of the student's body to the university in a communicative, clear and reasonable manner, and working on progress through proper channels, not through animosity, but rather through cooperation.
I just feel that the university, I highly doubt that they are unaware of the issues that exist in relation to students, but they haven't yet acted upon that. So perhaps it is time that we took it beyond UCD.
I would say to that, in what we see in this year is an entirely new and entirely different mindset in terms of the university leadership. The new president, Professor Deeks, his affinity for the Australian fee-paying model. This indicates a certain willingness towards flexibility and the needs of the students, especially on financial matters. So I believe that the circumstances as they exist at the moment and in the next couple of years to come provide an opportunity, an environment which has not previously existed, and which is a perfect opportunity to bring an initiative such as a renegotiation of the resit fees to bear. Well, a key role of the Education Officer, as defined in the restructured Students' Union since the Constitution change last year, is to be in charge of the class reps and the class rep system. It's something I made very clear in my manifesto. I want to use the class reps in a completely new way. Well, maybe not a completely new way, but in an augmented manner from the way they currently are. I want to give them more responsibility. I want to get them more involved in serious academic matters. I don't want them to just be glorified party planners, which is how they often viewed now. People see their class reps as someone who gets them a hoodie with a funny sexual innuendo on the back, organises a couple of nights in Kylie's, and then is never heard of again. I want to move away from that. I want to give class reps proper responsibilities in academic matters, the sort of things that I work with as a class rep, guiding people through repeats, through resits, through the much missed pass by compensation. I want to get them involved on the matters that really affect students on a more serious level. I want to give them a full level of support. I want to really make sure that class reps are the grassroots of the SU, and as such are engaged, involved with the student body, and through them make the union more open, more accessible, and for some people more relevant in their day-to-day life at UCD.
So I'd utilise the class reps in terms of them engaging with students, because the primary connection between the UCD sabbatical officers and the university and the general UCD student population is our class reps. However, I do believe that class reps currently are aware of their responsibility, but somewhat I consider the role of a class rep to be too overwhelming. First and foremost, class reps need to understand that it's their responsibility to stimulate debate on academic issues and take an interest and to represent their classes. In order to ensure that, I believe class rep training needs to be changed so that they understand from the outset and they're given somewhat of a practical training in terms of a mock council and mock application process and how they use the channels available to them. But in addition to this, I feel the education role doesn't reach out to students in the same way as perhaps the welfare role does. The reason being is that students don't feel that the education role provides the same services that the welfare office does. So therefore I'd like to change the education role so that students can identify services that education provides. And that's where in my manifesto I focused on introducing a skills for life Skills for Life Opportunities, a new initiative which will introduce seminars and workshops, and also looking at peer assisted learning, which will facilitate learning within faculties, establishing some sort of institutional memory, using the experiences of higher year students to benefit those in lower years. It will also help the integration of international students and Erasmus students, so they can feel like that their degree is valued by the union, and to ensure that the different forms of learning coming from a different university or perhaps even a different country, that they can adapt to the UCD way of learning. If students can relate to a service that the education office supplies, therefore they will be able to identify an importance within the role.
If I can just bring us back to a couple of points that you've made there. You say and this comes across very clearly in your manifesto, that you want to look at class rep training, which is something that education officer is utterly integral to. You mentioned specifically mock councils and application of how to put a motion through, procedural notices, and all these lovely bureaucratic elements of the SU. That already exists. I've been at class rep training the past 2 years. Both years we have taken a clear set of issues, from more mundane, what should the role of officers be during election, to the sensationalised, let's legalise marijuana and abortion. Got people speaking, got people submitting mock notices, got people going through procedural changes. We went through, your 9As, your 9Bs, your 9Cs, your 9Fs. I remember class rep training 2012 to show the amendment process, for example, a hypothetical council resolution was brought down to say that Rachel Breslin likes to shift first years. This is the sort of stuff that sticks with you. Now then, as erroneous or scurrilous that claim may be, it still shows that there is this system already in, and class reps leave rep training with a thorough understanding of the procedural goings-on of council.
That may certainly be your opinion, but having spoken with the previous education officers and a number of reps over the past 3 to 4 years, the duration of my time in UCD, I felt that my own class reps at different stages didn't fully understand their responsibility, and both previous education officers that I've spoken to have admitted that they felt the training wasn't sufficient, and that there wasn't enough engagement, and that perhaps the training over one day wasn't sufficient, that it should be on a practical ongoing basis. So I definitely think there are definite room for improvement within class training, and definitely I feel if you spoke to the average student, that they'd feel that their class rep in the majority of cases wasn't fully prepared. They have been fantastic as social facilitators in facilitating class parties and people getting to know each other, but that they weren't fully certain on how to address issues, academic issues, when they went to speak to them. I don't think a further emphasis placed on training can't provide any detriment to students and can only be a benefit.
Oh no, I'd completely agree with you, and as I say, I in my manifesto as well, I look to provide continued support along with extended responsibility for class reps, so extended training, extended study options, extended opportunities for class reps to stop feeling overwhelmed. So I agree with you completely. However,
I mentioned this.
I would say that there is currently, and there currently exists, a very definite framework now, and it may well be it needs to be expanded and augmented, and I would completely look into that. However,
I'd like to just, and on the point in the fact that class reps are overwhelmed, I'd like to see a distinction made in the next year between union, council, academic reps and stream reps, so that there is a distinction, and perhaps, if possible, two reps within each class group, because the workload of a rep can be overwhelming, so that you can make a distinction between those reps who will provide the social activities and make sure that their class are getting along and getting to know each other, which is very important, but also that there's a separate rep available to help them with any academic issues if they have an issue with assignments, classes, lectures, anything of that nature.
Peter was asking about on Belfield FM yesterday. You mentioned specifically looking into long-term semi-employment offers, internships, especially targeting arts students.
Yes.
I myself am an arts student. Yes. I don't necessarily feel that simple matter that I have a BA at the start of my programme code is of detriment or means that I will not be in gainful employment.
Absolutely.
So do you believe... Are you specifically looking to target art students here, or is this an ideal which you would seek to roll out across campus, or is this, as I say, is this limited? Is this only chasing after a group who you believe are a significant loss?
Absolutely, I don't agree that art students are a significant loss, and I have never mentioned that. That's just something you've brought forward here today. I believe that there should be more of a significant influence or importance placed on experience and internships. I've looked at this through two different methods. One, introducing a Skills for Life initiative across campus. So that will facilitate students to enhance their CV and perhaps to acquire skills that wouldn't necessarily be afforded to them through their traditional degree course. The internships is looking at the certain courses have an internship opportunity afforded to them. Others don't, and from speaking with program officers, I've been told that one of the main reasons why they haven't been afforded an internship opportunity is because there's not the time within their 3 or 4 year degree frame. What I will look at is introducing internships that will take place during the summer, so won't interfere with the current modules in place, but will be accredited as a module and organised through your faculty, so they can't no longer use the excuse that there simply isn't time. In terms of internship careers fairs, I feel that there is some fantastic fairs available, but I feel that the priority has been given to bigger degree areas, and that there hasn't been enough opportunities given to art students in the individual subject streams.
So arts isn't one of the bigger degrees then?
It absolutely is, but within arts, a generalised careers fair is of a benefit, any form of careers fair, but I think we could go further within that to provide individual ones. We certainly in UCD spend an awful lot of time considering the traditional career paths. As a law student, I have any amount of opportunities to speak to solicitor firms or to those in King's Inn if I wish to pursue a career as a barrister. But I may not wish to. I may wish to pursue legal journalism or any other variety of degrees or like career options which will incorporate my business and law degree, but there is not enough emphasis placed on those when it comes to career fairs, and that applies across the university. Bill, in terms of your manifesto, there's a couple of ideas there that have been included in a number of previous manifestos, but none of the previous officers have been able to bring those promises to fruition. So the 24-hour study area would be a really big one. You've said that we're in a period of change within the university, but you've never given any of the specifics into exactly how you will see through those promises.
I put in some things like to take the course celeb here, the 24-hour study period. This is something which has popped up in just about every manifesto for the past few years.
Yeah, I feel students,
completely
they're tired
of
of broken promises.
Exactly, and I completely understand that sentiment. I too am. What I'm saying here is, yes, I have been saying in very esoteric terms that this is a time of change. There are specifics, for example, with the 24-hour study area. Having spoken with current education officer, there are, at the moment, being worked towards a set of facilities in the health science library, specifically to do with toilet facilities, which will now be able to be 24-hour accessible, or have the capacity to be 24-hour accessible. This new set of facts on the ground, this new set of practicalities, coupled with a newly persistent, and I would pledge nothing but utter doggedness in pursuit of such a claim, it provides perfect ground. This is prime time to push through these things that in previous years have been promised and not fulfilled.
That doesn't fully answer my question, in that I know the toilet facilities have been promised for some time. Also, the Health Sciences Library was never designed to be a 24-hour building, and there's a number of other difficulties there in terms of security and the money, the finance available to staff that on a 24-hour basis, and I believe there would have to be some sort of security system put in place. So have you got any sort of confirmation? Because I know previous officers have all identified that yes, there needs to be a bathroom of security, but have you got any further promises that makes this realistic this year compared to other years?
As stands at this point in time, no, I do not. That is because we are at a point in time where this is not what I'm working on. But as, hypothetically, say I get elected, first thing to do, first person I pick up the phone to will be services, will be the health science program board, will be anyone who will be relevant, who will be involved.
Do you believe the previous officers haven't explored that route?
No, well, of course they must have. Of course that is the way they've gone. However, we have, with the new leadership, with the new university board, this is a new set of ideas, this is a new set of ideals, this is perfect time to change. To quote the Scorpions, winds of change are blowing. And I believe that provide with a new negotiable approach from the education officer, we can push through on concrete terms these things which have been promised and not delivered.
Okay, I think you're being optimistic on this approach and you don't have any guarantees, so to promise students again and again these big promises, students are tired of hearing these big promises, and that's why my manifesto, I focused on really small achievable aims. As a fourth year student, I've experienced UCD through first to fourth year, and I have experienced personally the difficulties that arise at all stages, so the nervousness and uncertainty of first years through the stress and pressures on final years. So therefore, regardless of your degree stage, and particularly I feel that the latter years within UCD feel forgotten about by the union, but I will be able and capable to represent you regardless of your degree stage. I have identified that the Education Office simply does not reach out to students. There's so much more potential, and that students feel let down by big promises, so I'm working on providing services that students can relate to and students need, so that students can place a value in the education role that they haven't been able to identify in the past. I am passionate, I have the knowledge, I've researched all of my ideas in great detail, and I promise to be the best education officer I can be for UCD next year.
Past 2 years, since coming to Ireland with nothing but a bass guitar in one hand, a suitcase in the other, and no place to live. I've been a class rep for a 500 odd person history class. I've represented the 5,000 odd international students this year. I've held about half a dozen society committee positions. I've even got a band up to gigging standard. In this time, I've seen every aspect of college life. I've helped students and I've been involved with students, again, from first year all the way through to fourth year, even post-grads, as relevant as they may be to this discussion.
But you're a second year student.
I am a second year student myself, yes, and I haven't been here 4 years. As an arts student, unless I carry on post-grad, I can only be here for 3 years. So I can't compete in the longitude terms. However, I believe that there's a certain freshness, a certain newness to my ideas. I'm bringing something cosmopolitan here with a Swiss upbringing. There's a certain practicality and pragmatism which I have learnt from this country, which I would look to bring in here. We're looking at things here which need to be achieved. What I'm promising, yes, there are some big promises, things which have come up before. However, I believe that I have the skills in personal liaison, in negotiation, in representation, which I've shown through my time as International Students Coordinator, as a class rep, dealing with personal cases, dealing with the programme board, that I can bring these through. So I have the experience, the capability, and the ideas.